Do you ever wonder when Christ will return for the second time? Many have speculated, but the truth is, there are 4 unmistakable signs that will take place before his arrival. No other history book has ever been published that covers such a broad range of events on planet Earth, in part because no one was present at the beginning to witness and document, and as a result no one can write the beginning of our world authoritatively. We are the only people who can. The Bible is a history book, but it is unlike any other history book available in any public library. The history of the Bible starts with the creation of the earth and ends with the end of the world. The purpose of the Lord's revelation of the future to his disciples was to prepare them for it. People often wonder if we are in the end times, but the Bible talks about the last days, and we have been in them for 2,000 years. The last days began at Pentecost when the first prophecy of the last days was realized. Every Christian generation should live to be prepared for the Lord's return. The Bible is a book full of predictions. From beginning to end, there are 735 in it. According to the scriptural prediction, 596 of the 735 prophecies have actually happened and have truly come true. It doesn't take much faith to believe that the remaining 19% of Bible prophecies will also come true, because 81 of them have already occurred, some of which were made centuries earlier. This is a very high score because the Bible has proven to be 100% accurate for every prediction that could have occurred by this point. Of the remaining prophecies, the majority deal with the actual return of Jesus and what happens next. Jesus instructed us to watch and pray about what we observe. He did not say to wait for him to arrive by watching the clouds. Instead, he meant to pay attention to what is happening in the world and to the indicators he had given us so that we may be ready. So let's look at Matthew chapter 24, where the disciples asked him what will be the signs or signals of his return. What would we do if we don't know when it was going to happen? To their question, Jesus gave a direct and unambiguous answer. We can thank God that he responded in such a straightforward manner. In the book of Revelation, he gives a much more detailed and comprehensive response, but here he gives a rundown of the signs that will precede his arrival. The disciples applauded his answer. Later, when Jesus sat on the Mount of Olives, his disciples approached him in secret and said, "Tell us, when will this all happen? What sign will signal your return and the end of the world?" Jesus replied, "Don't let anyone mislead you. Many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah." Matthew chapter 24 verses 3 to 36. They will mislead many, and you will hear of wars and threats of wars, but don't be alarmed. These things must happen, but the end won't come immediately. There will be wars between nations and kingdoms, and there will be famines and earthquakes in many parts of the world, but all of these are only the first of the birth pains. There will be more to come. Then you will be arrested, persecuted, and killed. But the one who perseveres to the end will be saved, and the good news of the kingdom will be preached throughout the entire world so that all nations hear it, and then the end will come. And many will turn away from me, betray and hate one another, and many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Sin will be rampant everywhere, and the love of many will grow cold. When that time comes, remember what the prophet Daniel said about the sacrilegious object that causes desecration standing in the holy place. Reader, pay attention. Then, those in Judea will be forced to flee to the hills. Those who are out in the field will not be allowed to return even to get a coat. Consider how terrible those times will be for expectant and nursing mothers, and pray that your flight won't occur during the winter. If the time of calamity isn't cut short, not a single person will live. However, it will be cut short for the benefit of God's chosen ones. Therefore, don't believe anyone who tells you that the Messiah is out in the desert, because false messiahs and prophets will arise and carry out incredible miracles to deceive even God's chosen ones. I have already warned you about this. Because these signs indicate that the end is near, the Son of Man will arrive just as lightning flashes in the east and shines in the west, and as vultures gather to indicate that there is a carcass nearby. After the suffering of those days, the sun will darken, the moon will not shine, the stars will fall from the sky, and the forces in the heavens will be shaken. Finally, a sign that the Son of Man is approaching will appear in the heavens. All of the peoples of the earth will experience profound mourning as they witness the Son of the Man riding on the clouds of heaven in power and great glory. He will send out his angels with a powerful trumpet blast, and they will gather their chosen ones from all corners of the globe. Heaven should now take a lesson from the fig tree, which bears fruit when its branch buds. Until all of these things happen, this generation will remain on the scene. However, no one, not even the angels in heaven or the Son himself, knows the day or hour when these things will occur. Heaven and earth will go, but my words will endure. Only the Father now knows that in that passage he gave 4 distinct signs of his coming. So what exactly are these 4 signs he gave us? The first is obviously catastrophes in the world and dimensions. For example, wars, famines, and earthquakes are undoubtedly happening, but they have been happening for over 1,000 years, and they are getting more intense, so we are definitely in this first sign there are already wars. However, there are numerous false Christs and Saviors who assert to be the promised deliverer of all our problems. The more issues there are, the more false deliverers there will be. However, Jesus warns us not to panic or be alarmed when we hear of a new war, tragedy, or famine breaking out. He said, "These are painful events, but they are not pangs of death, they are birth pains." Therefore, when you read about disasters in the news, the disasters in the world are the pain of giving birth to a new world, which is why we are very different from them. We feel sympathy for those who are suffering and, hopefully, we express it and provide assistance, but, deep down, we are not alarmed. Instead, we are hopeful that a new world is about to be born, so we are not discouraged or depressed by all the issues in the world. In other words, Jesus' advice to us is not to panic. Disasters in the world are the first indicator of his arrival. The church, however, is the second sign. The church is the second sign of his coming. The world is only the first warning. Warfare, rumors, quake, as well as starvation, the danger of deception, Jesus warns, is present both inside and outside the church. In this case, he says, it comes from false Christs and false messiahs who will exploit the chaos of natural disasters to present themselves as saviors. There are well-known examples of people who pretend to be saviors and lead people into desert locations only to end in tragedy. The second sign is changes within the church. Just as he divided the first sign into 3 parts, wars, earthquakes, and famines, he divides the second sign into 3 parts that all occur within the church. The first part of this sign is persecution. We will be despised throughout the world. The second would be a significant shrinkage of the church. Most people's love will wane when the entire church is under pressure. Many nominal Christians, if not all actual Christians, would depart due to the pressures of widespread persecution, and their love would wane. That's a rather gloomy indication. The third aspect of the sign's enormous surprise is that the gospel will be proclaimed to every racial group. A smaller, more purged church would have a bigger impact on the world, and that is exactly what Jesus is alluding to when he says that the gospel will be preached. In all of this, we are aware of false prophets' teachings. When there is no peace, they preach peace rather than doing it. They will assert that it won't take place and that Jesus' counsel to all Christians is to continue on and resist these false prophets when the sign appears and all facets of the church are rejected by the world. Why should that be the case? The reason is that as the wheat and tares grow together and reach full maturity, tension will increase between them, making it logical that Christians will experience significant pressure in the end times. Because Christians are social outcasts, there would be animosity. We are unique, and it is because of our uniqueness that hatred can grow. Because Jesus was so different from everyone else, he attracted hatred against himself. The world does not belong to us. Our citizenship is in the heavenly realms. John chapter 15:19, because you are not a part of the world, which the world would love if you were, but because I have chosen you out of the world hates you instead of loving you as its own. This brings us to the third sign of the end times, which is Jerusalem's distress. Geographically, it will be very limited in this passage. Jesus refers to Daniel's prophecies, and one of those prophecies has a figure known as the abomination of desolation. It's about a human being who establishes himself in the very city of God and calls himself God and refuses to accept anyone else's will above his own. Daniel mentions it 3 times. What does it all mean? What's the big deal? It's about a tyrant whose entry will have global repercussions but who will be centered in Jerusalem, the city of God. The holy location when the 4th sign of his coming appears, according to Jesus, there will be no threat of false prophets or false messiahs, and there will not be any deception. This will allow us to know when he is coming and prepare. There are numerous prophecies regarding this throughout the Bible. including Isaiah's prophecy that the skies will be rolled up like a carpet. It will happen too quickly, turning off all natural light, making the sun darken, and causing the stars to fall. Christians will exclaim that this is what is happening as the sun, stars, and moons stop shining just before that occurs, as God turns off the lights of heaven to prepare for the blaze of the new creation. The skies will be rolled up like a scroll, and all of heaven's stars will fall like withered leaves from the vine or foliage from the fig tree, and natural light will be gone, leaving only artificial light to illuminate the earth. When you see all these things, you know he is at the gates, about to walk through, and then Jesus makes a very straightforward statement about a fig tree, and this is where many Christians have gone astray. He says, "We are not meeting in an earthly stadium because there isn't one big enough to accommodate such a large crowd. We'll reach him in the air, and that'll do." Thanks for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please subscribe to our channel for more insightful content. May God bless you as you await the return of our Lord Jesus Christ.